San Antonio-based organization who for the past 25 years have dedicated themselves to the rescue, rehabilitation, and release back into the wild of injured, sick, and orphaned birds of prey.
SeaWorld in our celebration of Wild Days. We are so happy to be here to share time with you and to share with you some of our experiences with these magnificent birds of prey. We welcome all of you to look at them closely, and hopefully by the time that you leave, you'll have heard or learned some information that you didn't know before. When you look to your right and to my left, that is a bay-winged hawk. Now, bay-winged hawks are commonly found in the desert country. They're found south and west of San Antonio, all the way to California. Bay-winged hawks are named such. Well, first off, they were named by John Audubon, and they're named such because of what the way they look. When you identify them, you look for a black body, you look for a black tail, white tip on the bottom, and then look at the color down the side of the wing. That color is the same color as a bay horse, kind of a ruddy red color. Now I know when I say that, somebody's going to come up to me and say, bay's really not red, it's sort of black and brown, mushed together. And I'm going to say, it's my show. But when you look at that bird, the bay-winged hawk is very interesting. It is the only bird of prey that we know of that literally packs. They will fly in great numbers together, 10, 12, 15 birds. And when they're flying together, what we found out in our research is that what's really happening is magical. It is the older birds teaching the younger birds how to hunt, how to survive. You'll find a pack of birds flying along, and in the middle of them will be the young birds. And I think it's something that we all could learn from. And that is that the older birds should always be teaching the younger birds how to survive. The bay-winged hawk is known for capturing small mammals, insects, snakes, rabbits. It's a predatory bird, and it's a very interesting bird. I brought another hawk with me today. If you look directly behind me here, that is a red-tailed hawk. It is the most common species of hawk in the North American continent. You will see this bird around here. For example, when I came into SeaWorld today, I saw one sitting up on a telephone pole right by the highway. You can identify it with a light brown chest, a dark brown back, and then also take a look at its tail. It's not red like your clothes red. It is the same color as say, a pretty woman's hair, auburn, or a sunrise, or a sunset. But that's the reason it's called red-tailed hawk. Let's open up the wings of these birds again to look how big they are and how wide they are. What that should tell you, if you see them flying, you'll know it's a hawk right away, because the hawk uses those wings to glide, and as they glide along, they're using the air coming off the earth, and they don't stay up very high, and they dive right towards the earth, and many times when they dive out of the sky, they reach a speed of about 80 miles an hour. That's all they really need to be able to capture something that's right there on the ground. Now, I brought other birds with me, but I want to tell you why these birds are here. Birds of prey provide nature's checks and balances. Balance is that nature never gets overpopulated, and animals begin to starve and begin to be diseased, and they start disappearing. Nature's check is, these birds capture the ill ones, the sick ones, the slow ones. They rarely go after the fast ones. Therefore, they are checking on nature. We're all part of nature's checks and balances, otherwise we'd live forever, but there'd be no room for anyone else to come to this earth and enjoy this beautiful place. I also brought with me the other end of the spectrum. In other words, we have these hawks. But if they capture rats and mice and rabbits, slow-moving mammals, who captures things that are fast, like birds? Well, it's not a hawk because they fly far too slow. It has to be a bird that has long, pointed wings and have great speed in diving. And if you look right here in the center, step out just a bit, you'll see this bird. This is a peregrine falcon. By the way, the nickname for peregrine is wanderer, because they'll go 80, 90 miles in a day just to go get lunch. They are bird catchers. Look how long the wings are. Pointed. Very pointed. Now next to it is a bird called a merlin. When you look at both of these birds, you'll notice they have a dark round eye. They have a pattern underneath of the eye called a malar stripe. That helps them hide. And their wings are long and pointed. Both of these birds capture birds, but the peregrine captures large ducks, and the merlin captures small, sparrow-type size birds. Looking upon all of the birds of prey for a moment, look at the feet of the birds. Their feet are called talons. They have a big toe, and then they have a big sharp claw on each toe. And that's what they seize their prey with. They grab their prey with their talons, and they grab it with their beak, and their beak can break a neck rather quickly. They have no teeth, so they have to tear with their feet and their beak. Look at their feathers. Let's look at their back again. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they're very beautiful myself, but I'm going to give you a better chance to look at them right now. Let's bring them down. Volunteers of Last Chance Forever. They put in many, many, many hours in taking care of birds, and then they also help provide these educational programs. I would like to bring out a bird now that a lot of people misunderstand. They come into our center and we give them help. Unfortunately, we get a lot of them that are hit by cars, and I've actually seen people move over in a lane and try to hit them, and I think that's very sad. They're very misunderstood. The bird I'm about to bring out represents a group of birds that a lot of people have a tendency to call ugly. And it really bothers me when I have them on exhibit in places like this, and I'm in the background cleaning cages and such, and I can hear people talking, and I hear someone say, "Hey Bob, come take a look at this bird. Isn't he ugly and stupid looking?" And I think to myself, why would they do that? I mean, how brazen is that to wake up in the morning, comb your hair, brush your teeth, look in the mirror and say to yourself, "You're looking good." And then be able to go out and look at one of these birds and say, "Isn't he ugly and stupid looking?" And what I've come down to is this. I think two things. Number one, I think that we are forgetting, you and I, that we are animals. We're mammals. And we are connected to these birds. We're connected just like every other animal on this earth. And number two, I think it's because they can't speak our language. Don't you believe that if these birds could speak your language and you looked at them and said, "You're ugly and stupid looking," they would look at you and say, "You're not so good looking and you can't fly, Pally." These birds that I'm talking about are called scavengers in general, meaning they find whatever they can find to eat. They generally don't eat live animals. They might eat something that's just recently passed on. But they're called vultures. Now you might call them buzzards, but that's not the real name. Their real name is vulture. And the reason that there's a mix-up is that when our forebears came from the European continent, they had vultures over there and they're this big. But the vultures here are much smaller, and when they saw them, they were confused, and they thought that they were buzzards, which buzzard means common hawk. But they're not, they're vultures. There are two types of these vultures around. One has a redhead, which people have named turkey vulture, because that's what it reminds them of a turkey. But then there is a black one that has a black wing with a white line down the striped wing, and then also with a grayish black head, long beak for reaching into dead bodies to clean it all out. Vultures are really good animals. They clean the earth of dead animals. How would you like that job? How would you like to, in the morning, hear this on the top of your head, and then there's a voice that says, get up this morning, get into your car, go down your roadway, eat everything that got killed last night, last week, and last month. Make sure you get all the flies, the maggots, the worms, and all the juices. And you're going to say, what? And the voice is going to say, yes, if you don't do that, then those animals that died of terrible diseases, those diseases will melt into the ground, go into the water, get into the ground, come back up as water, and it will poison all of the animals of the earth. Every animal on this earth has a job to do, including yourselves and ourselves. Our job primarily is to not only take care of ourselves, but to take care of the world. We are supposed to be shepherds of the earth. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look. This is a black vulture. Good. Now, they are good flyers. They walk very well, but watch, let's see if we can get a flight here. We're going to stretch it out just a little bit. We're looking for a flat glide. A flat glide. The reason I point out that glide is that they can glide or soar up to 40,000 feet. Now, I have people say to me, that's not right, that's crazy. You can't breathe up there. You can keep flying if you want. They can't breathe up there. Of course they can. The way they can breathe is they've got hollow bones, and they push air into those bones. They can go up 40,000 feet, travel down range 50 miles, then come back down into the atmosphere. Flat and a glide. Well, not only are they good flyers, but they're good walkers. They walk better than any bird of prey I know. Let's see if we get a walk for you. Okay, now stop right there, turn around, and I want you to go back over there. Thank you very much. Now I want you to turn around and come right back over here. Come on, let's go. I want you to head out over here. Come on. Go. Do you need leading? Need help? He's looking for a free ride, Kelly. Back over to her. Call him up. All right, now we're going to need your help on this one. We're going to send him home. I want you to do me a favor. Just be a little enthusiastic about this. You know, the last group that was in here, I asked them to do this, and they were about as exciting as paint drying. So on the count of three, I want you to say time to go home. That'll encourage them to leave rather quickly. 1, 2, 3. Let's give that vulture a round of applause. He did really well, ladies and gentlemen. When the sun sets and the moon rises, nature doesn't stop. Nature continues on. When the sun sets and the moon rises, there are birds of prey that come to life that have been resting all day long. Though they can fly to get out of danger or to feed their youngsters, these birds really come to life at nighttime when you and I are sleeping. And they're called owls. Now everybody knows the word owl, but very few people know how to identify owls. And the reason being is that we do not see well at night. You and I, our eyes are not designed to see through the darkness. But owls, their eyes are. They can literally see in the darkness where you and I would not even go without a flashlight. And believe it or not, I can teach you to identify owls without ever seeing them. If you just listen. For example, you have a bird that you have a nickname for. You call it a hoot owl. That's a great nickname because that's exactly what they seem like, they sound like, they hoot. But its real name is great horned owl, and it sounds like this. He goes, and believe it or not, I can teach you to identify the male from the female. The female has many more notes, and she's a bit higher. The male is lower in his voice, and he goes, the female will answer, and they're talking to each other just like you and I. Another owl I can teach you its call lives in the tall trees near the creek bottoms, has a gray and white striped body, and it's called a barred, B-A-R-R-E-D, barred owl. And it has a very interesting call. It sounds like it says, who cooks for us all. Now I do a fairly poor imitation, but I'll try for you. It goes, oh. And during the spring, the males, during the breeding season, get very excited. They go, I see you understand more than I thought you did. Another owl that you have around in almost everybody's backyard, you just don't see them. At nighttime, you listen for them. And if you listen, you'll hear, and that's a screech owl. Ladies and gentlemen, these are owls. Taken aback every time. I never cease to be amazed by them. They're great horned owls, and there's a male and female there. The males are smaller than the females. So when you look at them side by side, you can see the difference in the size. The female stays on the nest, she sits on the egg, and all night long the male comes in and feeds her. And when there's youngsters, he continues to go out and get food and brings them back. And they say that whenever a great horned owl is feeding, they will kill a rat every 15 minutes all night long. Incredible. Look at the eyes of these birds. Huge eyes, yellow. Their eyes are designed to have them see through the nighttime. And look at the horns on top of the head. They're not hard horns like a cow or a goat, but they're soft feather tufts. And they're not there to help them hear. They're there to help them hide. It's part of their camouflage. Look at their wings and listen for a moment. If it were totally silence in here, you would still not hear their wings flap. Because on every feather edge, there's a cut edge, so that as the birds move their wings through the air, they make no noise. They are the ultimate stealth hunter. And they have feathers all the way down to their toes because they capture rats and mice, lizards, snakes. But do you know what their favorite food is? Skunks. Aren't you glad it's their job and not ours? Hey, listen, I know skunks smell a little bit, but then so does our brother-in-laws every once in a while. Skunks are good animals. Skunks eat the bugs that eat the roots of trees. And we need trees. They filter our air. The CO2 that we put out, they give us back oxygen. So skunks are really good animals. However, every once in a while, skunks get very sick. And if you see one in the middle of the daytime walking around in a circle, you probably shouldn't get near it, because a skunk gets rabies. And rabies kills humans, folks. You do not survive it. So really, these birds are angels of mercy for us. Let's open their wings one more time. Very beautiful birds. Now I brought one more species of owl for you. Ladies and gentlemen, these are screech owls. You're so predictable. I brought out a hawk, you're like, yeah, that's a hawk. I brought out a falcon, oh, that's a falcon. But when I brought these guys out, you were like, oh, look, they're so cute. Well, they're not babies, they're full grown, they will not get any bigger. And won't be the mouse that runs out in front of them. You notice right away there's two different colors? There's a real reason for it. If you live in, say, Atascosa County, down where the soil is red, you know, where the soil, where they raise peanuts and watermelon and such, that red soil, if you were red the same color, you would be hidden. And that's why there's a red-phased screech owl. If you lived in the hill country or any other part of the state where there are oak trees, you'd want to be gray. A gray-phased screech owl. They eat thousands of insects. And if you could look right at this little gray guy, if for a moment when he turns his head around, look right at his face and you'll see he's got lots of little whiskers sticking out on each side of his face. And that's so he can detect wind as it blows past him. It's just incredibly beautiful. Now people ask me all the time, can owls turn their head all the way around? Nope, they cannot. But they can turn their head a considerable distance. What makes them look like they can turn their head all the way around is the fact that they can turn their head almost all the way around. What happens is they turn their head almost all the way around, and then you blink. And then they whip their head back the other way. So here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to get this guy to turn his head way around over here. Get his attention back here to look at me. And then I'm going to say blink, all right? So get him right here, and blink. And blink. Two more turns and plop, his head falls right off. No, I'm just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the owls. We hope you enjoyed seeing the night flyers, the night hunters. Many times they're in pieces. They'll have broken wings and broken legs. Our veterinarian, an animal doctor, which by the way, please do me a favor to treat your veterinarians as doctors. They are highly schooled. Our veterinarian might, for example, put a wing back together. When that bird's wing heals, that doesn't mean we just toss it back out in the air and say, freedom, fly away. We'd like to know that that bird is going to survive. So in order to do that, we have to test them, we have to give them physical therapy. One of the things we use, in addition to wildlife medicine, we use an ancient art that's 4,000 years of age called falconry. Falconry is the art of inserting yourself into the natural behavior of the bird and soliciting the behavior of that bird to make it stronger, fly strong, and be able to hunt. I'd like to share with you how we teach a bird how to hunt once again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use something artificial because normally at this time if we've got a bird flying, we would go out into the field, we would find a place where there was a rabbit, and we would let the bird chase it to see if he could capture it. And if he did that successfully, well then we know we can turn him loose. We don't have time for that here today, so we're going to use this. This is what's called a lure. The lure, you notice, looks like a bird. It's made of leather. It was once a cow, a very small cow. Now I'm going to take this lure and I'm going to toss it, say, over here. And then I'm going to drag it, try to get the bird to chase it. But I'm going to challenge him, and I want him to miss it a couple of times just because life is not easy. So let's see what we can do with this. Can I see the hawk, please? And I'll see if he's interested in it. It's a bit like fishing. Oh, you're sneaky. You notice he watches it like a hawk. By pulling it away, I'm challenging him. But at some point, he's got to be able to have success. This is how he captures his prey. Watch. Let's give that hawk a round of applause. He did really well. Now, a bird like this has to fly many, many times to get strong. So now I have to get him off of there. But he's serious about this. He treats it like you treat your lunch. He's not about to let it get away, ever. If I were to reach down there, he would fight me for that. I don't want to be an enemy to him. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to accomplish two things. One, I want to get him off the lure so we can fly him again. And two, I want to show you that he doesn't wake up angry. He doesn't wake up vicious. He wakes up hungry. All he wants to do is to provide food for himself. So I'm going to toss off a tiny little piece of food, and let's see if he leaves this lure behind. He does. He leaves that big lure behind. He has no idea that, well, maybe I could tear into it, and I could get more. And that just proves to you that a tiny little brain controls what he does. I'm going to see if I can get him to move out for me and get a longer flight. Because what this bird has to do is he has to have the ability to not only capture something on the ground, but something in the air. So let's see if we can get something to run on the ground and then have him capture it when it flies into the air. Watch. Something on the ground. Something in the air. Let's give that hawk a round of applause. He did very well. Shannon, you want to come on and make an exchange? I've got a piece of food here if you need it. This is Shannon. Shannon volunteers with me. And the only way you learn how to work with birds of prey, of course, is to apprentice under someone who can teach you. So she's learning how to do this by working with me. Now she's going to place him right here and turn him around so he's facing that way. There you go. I want you, sir, to take a nice long flight over there. If you look at the screen up here behind me, you'll see some bay-winged hawks. Remember we talked about being packed animals? Watch how these birds chase a rabbit. It's very difficult and tough out there in the world. I always enjoy watching this little clip. These birds are working their backsides off trying to capture their food. And they're not very successful at it. But yet they will be successful at some point. So how do we at Last Chance Forever get a bird to have that kind of strength? Well, we try to be as inventive as possible. We invent things. So we've invented something that I call the power lure. And it's a way to get the lure itself to run faster, run stronger. So if you watch right here in front of me, I'm going to show you how we speed that lure up. Now we're going to try to stretch this out again. And we're going to try to get this bird to make an even more difficult flight. Here comes the hawk. Just kidding. I shouldn't do that. That's just, it's funny to me though. She falls for it every time. Okay, we've got the bird back there. Let's challenge him to a more difficult flight. Let's give that hawk a round of applause. He did really well. Ladies and gentlemen, I have two more birds that I'd like to share with you. And I want to thank you first and foremost for coming out and being with us today and joining in and being a conservation partner with SeaWorld, Wild Days and Last Chance Forever. The first bird I'm going to bring out, well actually the next two birds we're going to bring out, the last two, these go to the other end of the spectrum. Remember we talked about spectrum from the smallest to the largest. But if there are hawks that capture rabbits, and then there are falcons who capture birds, and there are tiny screech owls that capture insects, who captures the larger animals? Raccoons and possums, jackrabbits, small deer. Who captures those? It has to be a bigger bird. So the first bird I want to bring out, I want to dedicate to all of you. It is a bird found west of San Antonio, up in the hill country, all the way out into El Paso, at the end of the Rocky Mountain Range. And it is a bird that is known as the great bird of the sun. For you, this is a golden eagle.
Big bird.
Roxanne, open its wings. It takes my breath away. I mean, I've been dealing with them since I was 9 years old. When I was 10 years old, I held a bird like this on my hand. I was so fortunate to have that experience. Little did I know that it was going to push me into what I'm doing today. The second bird I wish to bring out, I want to dedicate it to two groups of people. The first group is a group of people that there are some of you amongst us, you know who you are. You very rarely want to be stood up and looked at, so I'm not going to ask you to. There are groups, there's some of these people amongst us that are not here in body. They've lost their lives. And these are people who have stood in front of danger, no questions asked. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm talking about is veterans. There are people, veterans, that are thousands of miles away and they are somewhere in the dark right now, and all I want to do is wake up early in the morning, look into a blue sky and see the symbol of freedom, which gives us the ability to sit here together. We're so lucky. The second group of people of that group, as I want to talk about, is the first responders. They stand there on the front line. In honor of them, I wish to bring out the great bird of the United States of America. This is an American bald eagle. Take a look. They've got big feet, big talons, large wings. The bald eagle is known for being a fishing bird and a scavenger, a survivor. Both birds that you see in front of you are in adult plumage. It takes 5 years, 4 to 5 years, for them to get a white head and a white tail, or gold on the back of the head and on the edges of the wing. When they become adults, they can then pick a mate. Did you know that when bald eagles pick a mate, they stay with that mate the rest of their life? And that it's been documented that when one bird dies, the other one pines away to death? Pretty impressive. Again, they've got large feet, impressive wings. I'd like to leave you with one last thought. It's an old Celtic saying that I read out of a dusty book in England, and I added just a little bit to it. We are the place between the sun and the moon, where the lightning flash and the thunder bolt, where a Creator put us. My good friend Don Henley, he's an eagle, you know. But some of you may not know who he is, and I will tell you who he is. He's a great songwriter, a great performer, and he's a great poet. And I think also he's right there with Walden and Thoreau with being a great speaker for the earth. Mr. Henley gave me this part of his song. He said, use it all you want. You never have to ask me again. And it says, why can't we learn to stand still for just a moment and realize, yes, there are heavens for us to go to when we pass on. But while we are here, this place we stand upon, these birds, you, I, SeaWorld, Last Chance Forever, this is our heaven. Won't you help Last Chance Forever and SeaWorld? Won't you help your own selves and create a legacy? And remember, this is our earth, it's our home, it's our heaven. Join us. We hope you enjoyed seeing these beautiful birds. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for coming to Vulture.